Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local. Okay, welcome to episode 42 of the Near Memo. David, Greg, and Mike are here as always, although I'm in Berlin, Germany for a special COVID transatlantic edition. And David and Mike are in the US. But as always, we'll be talking about... What?
Have you rubbed any shoulders with David Hasselhoff over there?
Yes, we've been palling around, hitting the bars and clubs together.
Yes. Free entry everywhere you go with him as your companion.
That's right. So we'll be talking about search, social, and commerce, and there's a little bit of a special Apple Maps AR metaverse discussion today, a little bit of a dedicated discussion. So I'm going to start off with something that I put on the in the newsletter for today, which we've yet to publish, about some research that I did at Uberal, survey that I drafted. I don't go into it in a lot of detail. There's just a couple of points that I pull out, but it's a really interesting survey. The findings are quite interesting. One of which is we asked 4,000 people in 4 countries: UK, US, Germany, and France. Same questions. And we asked them, among others, which types of businesses are you more inclined to trust? So do you trust, e-commerce businesses versus traditional stores that may have an e-commerce dimension? And 67% of people across the board said that they were, 2/3, in other words, said that they were more inclined to trust businesses that had a physical location. So that makes a lot of sense intuitively. It was just interesting to see that. And we asked them lots of questions about their expectations of different categories of businesses and their e-commerce versus traditional shopping habits. And of course, the data point that I always like to pull out, people say, 2/3 of people say that they're more inclined to buy something online if there's a store there for them to take it back, which ties into one of the other pieces that I am writing about, which is the sort of separation of Saks and Macy's e-commerce and traditional store operations. But that's for later. So
I wonder what a mixed model like Amazon and Kohl's would surface as a trust factor. Like I had to return something to Kohl's the other day, and it was like super easy. I didn't have to pack it, didn't have to put it in a box. I dropped it off, they packaged it and did everything. It was really cool.
Right, same with Whole Foods. So they do that with Whole Foods as well. Amazon is an outlier because Amazon's brand is so strong. I mean, I think a week ago or so, there was a report on the loyalty of Amazon shoppers, and it's really unlike anything else. So we didn't call out particular brands. We just asked them online versus offline. But Amazon is really not an exemplar of all e-commerce businesses because its brand strength is so powerful.
And almost everyone has experience sending something back to Amazon, and it's pretty easy. So I don't.
Yeah,
it's not
really,
as,
the hard part for Amazon
hurdle.
is convincing me to go into Kohl's, right?
Right.
I mean, just because it used to be so easy to return, but I live in a rural area. They don't have great infrastructure around here. And Kohl's is obviously they've incentivized me to go to Kohl's, which I found interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's the cheapest way.
Yeah. So the real thing I want to say, that was just sort of preamble stuff. I mean, if anybody wants to request the report that we did from the survey without going through the lead form, just send me an email. I forget what my
I think it's gsterling at nearmedia.co. Yeah.
Nearmedia.co.co. So you can send me an email and I'll give you the research. But the thing that I wanted to bring up today is the finding about local search, sort of the percentage of local search. So Google over time has said 20% of search volume is local, 30% is local. Marissa Mayer said 40% at one point. There was a internal Google conference that was private, and somebody tweeted 46% of Google reported 46% of search has a local intent, and Barry Schwartz picked that up in one of his blog posts, but that was never confirmed. And what their official position is nearly a third of mobile search has a local intent. So they're not even talking about the desktop. So I'm just frustrated by all these numbers and sort of the waffling and inconsistency. So we and surveys are imperfect, obviously, because it's not behavior. But we asked people, the verbatim question was something like, now I don't have it in front of me, unfortunately. It was like, what percentage of your search activity, and we named Google, is concerned with businesses, activities, events in your area. So in other words, we were trying to give the commercial and non-commercial interest stuff, and we bucketed the responses, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, up to 100% in sort of 10-point increments. And so people could select one of those. And what we got across all 4 countries was a pretty consistent response, which was also very interesting. There were subtle variations, but not meaningful. And so 69% of people across 4 countries, 4,000 responses, said that at least half of their searches were focused on their local area. And there were quite a few people that were in the upper end of that range. We had 20% of people saying at least 80% of their search volume was local. So what that tells me, it's not a search volume number, but what that tells me is that really, most people are doing at least half of their queries are focused on stores, things to do, places to go, directions, whatever it is, which is a much bigger number. I mean, it's sort of close to the 46% number that Barry wrote about, but it's a much bigger number than Google has acknowledged in the past. And I think
Google has a self-interest in not acknowledging how much of it's local.
Well, why do you say that, Mike?
Well, I think that they're concerned about antitrust and competitive situation. They have a huge advantage in local, and I think them obfuscating how much volume they get out of local, and their push into products in local, the investment they have in local.
Right,
I think they have a huge advantage there, and I think as much as they can obfuscate that, they will.
Yeah, so a little bit of a conspiracy.
It's not conspiracy. I think it's in their business interest to not be fully transparent about the huge amount of local search that's going on.
And there's virtually nothing else. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that's probably true given the speed with which they tried to shut down the leak of that 50% number or 46% number several years ago. Yeah. To me, that's something that you shouldn't really care about. It gets out. It's just, it's not like,
well, it's
not
anything,
giving competitive advantage to any particular SEO trying to game the system, right? But I think it does give some intelligence to Google's real competitor, Amazon, in where their weaknesses lie. So,
but doesn't it also bring more people into Google My Business now, Google Business Profile, and encourage people to advertise, do local ads, and so on and so forth? I mean, if businesses, especially small businesses, see the kind of volume, doesn't that encourage people to buy those ads?
I don't think that's necessarily true. As Mike's case study found, 90% of leads are coming from Google. Even when you show the data to businesses, they don't believe it. They still think Facebook is where the party is. So I think with enterprises now, that might be true. You might be able to get more budget for local inventory ads and those sorts of things. But usually that's a technical hurdle, not necessarily an appetite or a priority hurdle. So,
all right. So it's time to move on. And with that,
thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.